The Israeli government is moving to make another goodwill gesture to the PA by releasing hundreds of terrorists, some with blood on their hands. Shalom to government spokesman Mark Regev.
Hi.
Now, Mark, what exactly is Israel doing with the latest goodwill gesture?
The idea is to have a confidence-building measure, a measure that is a gesture to the Palestinian leadership, specifically President Abbas, and to try to energize the process of dialogue.
Now, you mentioned terrorists with blood on their hands, but who exactly will be freed?
The final list has not yet been decided. The full government supported the resolution this morning, but ultimately tomorrow it will be going to a specific cabinet subcommittee where a final list will be worked out.
All right, Mark, we're freeing terrorists. What are we getting in return?
I think what we're trying to show here is that the path of moderation, the path of dialogue, is the preferable path for the Palestinians. You'll recall a few weeks ago we did an exchange with the UN to get back from Hezbollah the bodies of two of our servicemen, Regev and Goldwasser. And we released specifically a very difficult person, a Samir Kuntar, who was a particularly gruesome killer. And the idea of this exchange that will go ahead before the end of this month is to show that through moderation, through dialogue, through pragmatism, Palestinians can achieve much more than they could ever through the path of extremism and terrorism. That's what we're trying to show here.
Now, you just mentioned Samir Kuntar, but Kuntar has already vowed to return to terrorism, while with the other terrorists the government is freeing to do the exact same thing.
Every time you release someone, obviously as someone who's been convicted, you do a cost-benefit analysis, and you look at the factors on both sides of the equation. And ultimately that's the job of political leadership, to take into account all the factors and to make the best possible policy call that there is. We believe that strengthening the moderate elements amongst the Palestinians is the right strategy, even though we do understand the downside. Releasing someone who is sitting in an Israeli jail is not easy. We don't have political prisoners in Israel. No one's sitting in an Israeli jail because they are a prisoner of conscience. People sitting in Israeli jails are often involved in violence, very deadly violence, and so it's not easy. But ultimately, the job of political leadership is to make the right call, and we believe that this sort of release, strengthening moderate Palestinians, is the right call.
What about Gilad Shalit? What effect will this have on efforts to free the kidnapped soldier?
You know, we've decided in government to have a news blackout on Gilad Shalit. The way the negotiations were handled through the United Nations with Hezbollah, where everything was in the press every day, we thought that didn't help the Israeli case, that it was actually advantageous to Hezbollah. And so we're not talking about Gilad Shalit. I apologize. I understand the need of newsmen to ask, but we're not going into that at all.
Mark Regev, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, sir. Bye-bye.
Among those who will be most affected are the family of the victims of the terrorists who will be released. Shalom to Joyce Boim, whose son David was murdered over 10 years ago by Arab terrorists.
Yes.
Now, Joyce, what exactly happened to your son?
12 years ago, he was shot and killed outside his yeshiva, waiting for a ride to Yerushalayim. It was a drive-by shooting. First they shot at a bus, and then they shot at him and three of his friends. He was shot in the head. Another, one of his friends was wounded in the stomach, and the other two, Baruch Hashem, were okay.
Now, which terrorists were behind that attack?
This was from the Hamas.
What happened to your son's murderers?
One was a year and a half after he killed David. He blew himself up on Ben Yehuda. If you remember, there were three terrorists that situated themselves along Ben Yehuda and blew themselves up. It was, I think the yahrzeit is soon. It was the beginning of September. And the other one was in a pu'ula by Tzahal. They were going to get him, and he came out shooting, so he was killed. So I know where the two of them are. There's no chance of them being they're where they should have been before they did it. They're buried underground.
Now, you've probably heard the government plans to release Arab terrorists.
Yes.
Now, what's your response to this planned action?
I think it is absolutely crazy. To strengthen enemies, soldiers have endangered their lives to put these people behind bars, and now we have to strengthen the enemies and let them out. There's a reason they're behind bars. If they didn't kill, they wanted to kill. And I understand there's some going to be let out with blood on their hands. A free-for-all. They know, what? It shows absolute weakness on our side.
The government claims freeing these terrorists will strengthen the so-called moderate elements. Do you think there's any truth to this?
There's no strengthening. They hate us, and they'll continue hating us, and they'll continue trying to kill us, and nothing is going to strengthen. Nothing, any of these kind of things is not strengthening. It is showing our weakness.
What do you think we should do once we capture terrorists?
Just keep them in prison. Keep them in prison. But the thing is, in our prisons, it's like a five-star hotel. They're fed, they have TVs, they have computers, they get educated, they come out with degrees. So I don't know why they would want to be released. They have it better in the prisons than they do at home.
What do you think the planned release will mean for the future of terrorism?
It'll encourage it, because it's a revolving door. We come in for a while, and then there's some agreement or there's some strengthening of one of our leaders, and we're let out. So we might as well keep trying, because we'll be let out anyhow. They have nothing to fear.
In your opinion, is the Olmert government genuine when they state the belief that freeing terrorists will strengthen moderates?
That's what they think, but I think it's the craziest thing I've ever heard. And what about Gilad Shalit and his family? Just to strengthen? Why, if they're letting out, let them free their son?
Joyce, do you think we should free prisoners for our kidnapped soldiers?
Well, here, what did we get? We let out prisoners. We let out with blood on their hands, and we got the dead bodies. But at least the parents have a grave to go to. You want Shalit? 1 for 1. What is this? 200, 1,000, 1,500, thousands for one? 1 for 1. We'll let out one. You let him out.
Joyce Boim, thank you very much for joining us.
Have a nice day.